Right now, we have Communities That Care with us today. Their Executive Director, Mary Christa Smith, is joining us virtually to talk about an upcoming webinar about COVID-19 and student success and how to define that during these unique times. Mary Christa, thanks for being here with us on Park City Television.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a delight to be with you on Zoom, like we all are these days.
It absolutely is. Happy that you're here with us. And before we get into this webinar, tell me a little more about Communities That Care.
Thanks, Christine. Communities That Care is our youth coalition, youth prevention coalition of Summit County. Our role is to really gather together all the youth serving organizations who are working towards the health and well-being of our kids so that we're having a shared strategy, a shared conversation about needs, gaps. We run it through, a rigorous data analysis so that we can see what is happening with our kids in the community, and then who within our wonderful community of nonprofits and mental health organizations is best positioned to serve and address that need. And so we are really that space of making those connections, helping shepherd resources to the places that they need to go, and making sure that we all know one another. I had a call the other day from a woman who's newly on the board at the Children's Justice Center, and she was wondering about resources that could be provided for consent, what people really need to know about consent, as well as reporting if they suspect abuse. And that is something that the Peace House has had a really active role in. And so I was able to, help make that connection. And that's what we're here to do, not to reinvent the wheel, but to support all those organizations in doing their best work.
It was something that really impressed me recently. Last week was Live PC, Give PC. This is a day where our community comes together to support nonprofits, is how much the nonprofits work together. And we wouldn't be able to have all of this support, all of the monies raised over $3.5 million just about last week for the nonprofits in our local area if you didn't all work together. And that's what makes it successful. That's what makes programs like yours really help people, which is the bottom line.
Absolutely. I love that, Christine. I think that Live PC, Give PC is such a shining example and a testimony to our willingness to work together. And it speaks to our connection. And we have coalition members who, once someone donated to them, they made the invitation, hey, you might also want to donate to Communities That Care and other organizations within the coalition. And we do that for one another because the more we're all able to thrive, it lifts up our entire community. And, I like to think about it with the metaphor of the aspen forest, and you can see the aspens in the background behind me, that we share a common root system, even though we may be individual trees. And when one tree is, under attack from disease or lacking water, the other trees within the ecosystem will shepherd nutrients and water to that particular tree, and it's how the whole ecosystem thrives. And that's what we do at Communities That Care, is look for those areas of need and do our best to help shepherd those resources from ourselves and from other organizations in that direction.
And you are consistently involved and in constant communications with the schools here in our area, making sure that parents and families receive resources that they need.
Absolutely. We have our ear to the ground, and that's another wonderful aspect about our connected community, is that we are listening and hearing for what are those needs in the community, so that we can provide information and resources to help people. We had a mom call a few months ago whose son had seen a really disturbing TikTok video, and we shepherded panel discussions and put together a toolkit for parents about how to talk with their kids and set boundaries around social media, and how to monitor that if they're interested in doing that with their child. So we really try to meet that need that we hear coming from parents as quickly as we possibly can.
And speaking of meeting that need, you have this webinar coming up called Student Success in the Age of COVID. Tell me more about that.
We are so delighted to be partnering with the Park City Education Foundation. I mean, they are the go-to nonprofit when it comes to work within the Park City School District, and so happy to be working with them. what we hear from teachers and from parents is that, everything is different this year. How curriculum is being delivered is different. And so to measure success by last year's standards just isn't working anymore. And when I talk to people, both professionally and who are parents, what I hear often is that they feel like they're failing, that they're not meeting the moment in the way that they would like to. And I think we really need to reframe what success looks like during this time and manage expectations for ourselves as parents, manage expectations we have for our kids or that the kids may have for themselves, and really importantly, manage expectations about what we're expecting from our educators, because if we are expecting it to look like last year, that is just not possible and it's not reality. And what I experience having a son at Ecker Hill, and I really appreciate about the school district and our educators, is they've put the health, safety, and well-being of our students at the very top of the list of priorities. And so as a parent, helping for myself to understand the challenges that our educators are going through so that I can come alongside them and be a support to them is imperative for us all to move through this time together in the best way possible.
And this webinar has a panel of some very well qualified individuals.
Yes, it does. So we have invited Sam Walsh, who is the crisis counselor at Park City School District. She works in the high school. She's an incredible person and resource for this conversation and really, boots on the ground within the school. We've invited Dr. Brad Reedy, who works with families as a therapist and as the founder of a wilderness therapy program. And I love the way Brad frames his work with parents. And I know that they've been experiencing a lot of these same kinds of questions with their clients. So we're delighted to have him. And finally, Jennifer Mulholland, who is co-founder of Plenty, and she's a mom and has kids in the school district, as well as consults with large nonprofits and for-profit organizations all over the country. And they're facing these same questions. The strategic plan that everyone had back in January is out the window, and large organizations are really wrestling with what did success look like 2 years ago, what does it mean going forward, and shifting those expectations and their strategies. And how do we redefine we're still being successful even if we're not doing it the way we've done it in the past. So we're really excited to have those three different yet intersecting perspectives in the conversation. And I really encourage everyone to register. You can register. You'll see the link on our Facebook page, on the Park City Education Foundation's Facebook page, on both of our websites, ctcsummitcounty.org and the Park City Education Foundation's website, and go ahead and register. And we will open it up for Q&A at the end of our conversation. So there's an opportunity for you to, ask the questions that are most pressing for you as a parent in our community.
And it's reassuring to know that these conversations are happening, because it is hard as parents, as teachers, as educators, as community members to really understand what the expectations are this year, what should be changing, what shouldn't be changing, how can we best help. So knowing that you at Communities That Care are working together with all these other entities to really bring this information to people that need it is very excellent, Mary Christa. I'm really happy that you're doing this. And once again, where can we get more information?
So I would say go to our website, ctcsummitcounty.org, or go to the Park City Education Foundation's website. I think it may be PCEF.org, but you'll find it if you Google Park City Education Foundation, and the registration link is right there. It's only an hour. We know how much we're all on Zoom these days, so it's going to be really worth your while. And you will walk away with, a reframe. You'll walk away with tools that are going to help you, and they're going to help your child. And they're also going to help all the educators that are working with your your child and your student, because we'll be able to come alongside them even more after this webinar. So I really, really encourage parents to take that hour as you're cooking dinner and listen in and participate.
Well, thank you so much, Mary Christa Smith, for joining us today. She's Executive Director of Communities That Care right here in Summit County. If you want more information about this upcoming webinar about COVID-19, you can find it on the Communities That Care page. Also, you can find it online with Park City Education Foundation. If you have any questions, let us know. It's really a great opportunity to find out more about what is happening as far as student learning here in our local community during this pandemic. We'll be back with more on this Health and Wellness Thursday right after this.